That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Yours truly, Stephen Leonidas Rainmaker, is SXEHXC till I DIE, bitch. Alright, so I'm sitting here currently working on my story about the time that I went to the Crazy Kid School. I know you guys are probably plumb fuck tired of hearing about it by now. But, so I started working on this story, and the story itself is a very important story to me. Because it's not just talking about one thing or a couple things. It's talking about an entire fucking phase of my life. Like, the story begins in 2001 when I moved out of the ghetto and was living in Groveport, which some stupid fucks want to say Groveport is the ghetto. It's not, bitch. Groveport is not ghetto. Hold on a second. Why is my fucking phone acting up? Alright, there we go. So why does this have anything to do with straight edge, you ask? So, simply, I'm working on my story right now. See if I could pull it up for you guys real quick. Oh wait, never mind. I got the picture up. Anyways, so I'm working on my story. And right now I'm in the year of 2004. And I'm kind of like pulling like a Quentin Tarantino, and I'm like going back and forth on the stories. I know it may sound kind of like what the fuck, but so the reason why I go back and forth on the stories is like because I want it to relate to the thing that I talk about, where I'll be like, oh, so during this time I did this, and then now we're in this phase of our life, so instead of like talking about it later and then bringing it back up, that's just how I work on stories. So anyways, what does this have to do with straight edge? So I want to take you guys way back to like the year 99, maybe 2000. But my older brother was like my hero, even though he was a giant fucking dickhole. Like, I love you, Joey. I know if you're going to hear this, you're probably going to blast me and think I'm a bastard for saying this, but man, I love you. I really do. You were a dickhole to me. You know you were. But I understand with the circumstances that were going on at home and shit. But still, you're a dickhole nonetheless. And I was a dickhole to you, but that's mostly because mom and dad fucking pitted us against each other. So anyways, again, what does this have to do with anything? Well, I'll tell you. Joey, my older brother, was like my hero. That was my bubby, man. And like when he started smoking cigarettes, it fucking crushed me. I didn't know how to take it. Like, I remember I was being all fucking weird about it. Like, not just weird, like I was upset about it, obviously. But then, like, I would always do, like, I swear to God, I got a fucking weirdo mentality. But I feel like I'm Chris Chan when it comes to my life. So, when I found out he started smoking, it really crushed me. Because I always thought smoking cigarettes was disgusting. I thought, people who smoke are going to fucking kill themselves. Because I always saw the commercials about, you getting lung cancer and shit like that. And, emphysema and all these fucking diseases. And then, obviously, we all saw what it did to my parents much fucking later in their life. Nice to be 43 and fucking 53 years old and dying from cancer, guys. But anyways, sorry, that was a little grim. But anyways, so I saw my brother smoking, and I remember it broke my heart. I was just like, no, why is my bubby smoking cigarettes? I thought he was better than that. And I remember I started acting weird, so I drew a picture of my brother, like in a Dragon Ball Z form with his ponytail and shit, and him smoking a cigarette. And then I drew another picture of a fucking body bag with his name on it. And it was really saddening. But eventually I got over it. I mean, I still thought it was fucking dumb of Joey to ever pick up cigarettes. I'm like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you, you dumb fuck? So, fast forward some time. Actually, even that year, I'm going to be honest with you guys, but I thought potheads were cool as fuck. Now, again, we're in 2020. I think they're cool now. But please let me explain. So, one of my favorite movies in the year 2000 was Half-Baked. And I saw how fucking fun and happy and positive a lot of stoners were. And the only negative stoners that I knew were, like, people in my family. Like, they treated marijuana like fucking crack or heroin. Because they're the type of people that can't go without smoking pot. Anyways, man, I'm all over the fucking place, but I promise this relates to everything. So, I eventually let it go, and I was like, you know what? When I get older, I think I'm going to start, smoking some pot. I might drink or whatever. And, I go to the Crazy Kid School. I started going to Fairmore in the the late summer of 2003. And that's where I met my friend, or that's when I started going with Sean Sims. As you guys know, I've always talked about Sean Sims. The guy in the picture, this guy right here. Obviously, you guys have seen this picture the other day. So, sorry, I'm trying to get this off my fucking screen. There we go. So, anyways, when we were going to the school together, we were going to Fairmore. We had this, like, after-school thing that we did one time. Well, it wasn't after school, but it was like this, I don't even want to call it a school play, because like a school play, it's played, like, where people are acting on a stage. We went to this building. I don't know what kind of building it was. It was, like, this giant, like, whatever, like, it kind of looked like a movie theater, but it wasn't a movie theater. And there was this big-ass projection screen, and everything that we saw was, like, pre-recorded. Everything was, excuse me, talking about, like everything was like comedy skits, or not comedy skits. Well, I mean, there was a couple of comedy skits, but it was mostly serious. It had, people like pretending to do certain things that are, that equate to real life, like, violence, bullying, teenage pregnancies, smoking, drinking, doing drugs. And I remember I was watching this, alongside Sean and Moses and everybody in my class and shit. We're watching this, and I don't know how long we were there, but that shit fucking stuck to me. And I remember I'm just watching this shit, and I'm so taken back by it, and my fucking, like, I'm just drawn in. And I remember there's this scene where this dude, like, obviously he was a teenager, and he's sitting there, like, off on the cliffside. I don't know what happened to his brother. In the skit, I don't know, or the sketch, I don't know if his brother, like, drank too much and he fucking got liver cancer or some shit. I don't remember what happened, but I think his brother drank and drove and got into a car accident and died. And he started picking up drinking too. So he's at the edge of the cliff, and he's got a Budweiser bottle or a Bud Light, whatever. And he's just sitting there, and he's just thinking about, like, his brother and shit. And suddenly, fucking in the background, a Cold song starts playing where it's like, na, na, na. Hold on, I'll see if I can find the song. I swear to God, man, I got fucking ADD ass brain. This video is probably not going to stay up because of copyright. Year of the Spider. It's a song from Cold, but let me see if I can find the song. No, it wasn't Suffocate. Was it Sad Happy? Yeah, this was the song. So I remember, like, he's sitting there and he's on the side of the cliff, and all of a sudden he just stands up and fucking just chucks the beer off the cliff, and you just hear this. Dude, I need to download that song. But yeah, man, that just stuck to me, and I was just like, oh my God, like, and that whole thing just steered me away 100% from wanting to get a girl pregnant and wanting to do drugs and wanting to drink and wanting to smoke cigarettes. And I remember I hung out with Sean later that day, and I'm like, dude, I never want to start doing drugs, and da-da-da, and we're talking about it, and, this, like, stuck with us like a fucking, like, oh my god, like, well, it stuck with me. And I remember, because Sean was talking about it, and he's like, yeah, dude, fucking people who smoke are fucking idiots, and we're talking shit about people who smoke and drink and shit. Unfortunately, the two of us were just surrounded by people who were on drugs and on alcohol and drinking and smoking and having premaritals, and it's like, it fucking stuck with me. So then, okay, I'm gonna spoil a part of the story that I'm currently working on. I'm not even at this part. I'm at the part where I'm start becoming straight edge, pretty much. So, around October of 2004, Sean and I's friendship started to change. Like, I noticed he was acting like an asshole. He was a lot more cynical. He was being a dick to me all the time. Plus, he was, like, doing crimes and shit. Which, again, 16-year-old boy or whatever, having his issues. It's not my place to judge now, Obviously, we look back on that and whatever. So, I remember right before my grandfather, Bill, passed away, Sean came to my house to go hang out. And he had a fucking Black and Mild, smoking it, like, right in front of me. He's like, hey, what up, man? And I'm looking at him, and I'm, like, in disbelief. I'm like, oh, bro, you're smoking? He was, yeah, man. What's wrong with that? And I'm like, how are you gonna sit there and smoke this fucking cigarette in front of me and me not be okay with that? Like, I was just like, bro, what the fuck? I said, all right, we can go hang out. So we went to Asbury, and he's sitting there smoking this thing. He's like, oh, this thing tastes like butterscotch, da-da-da. And I didn't know what to say to this kid. Because I remember, like, because we've been having fallouts, with him, like, talking about how he was going to go out and start smashing people's pumpkins and shit during Halloween. And me being the fucking complete and utter polar opposite of a sociopath. Like, I empathize too much with people, who work really hard to do pumpkins with, like, somebody, and then somebody's gonna fucking ruin and just desecrate them. So I remember I was like, so are you still gonna be smashing pumpkins this year? He goes, yeah, why? What the fuck's the problem? I'm like, come on, dog, don't you think it's a little fucked up? He goes, what's so fucked up about it? And I'm just like, come on, man, just imagine, you're sitting and carving a pumpkin with, like, your dad or something, or someone you love, and you make this pumpkin, and you spend, like, a long time, and then all of a sudden, you set the pumpkin outside, you put a candle in it, and some fucking kid just runs up and just destroys it. So, of course, Sean starts, like, laughing at me. He's like, bro, are you fucking serious? Da-da-da-da. And I'm like, really? Like, you're being a dick, dude. Like, I didn't know how to handle it. So I'm sitting there, and I'm just, like, thinking and thinking. I'm like, bro. I'm like, I don't know what to do with Sean, man, because he just told me that, like, he wanted to be, clean and not do drugs and not be a delinquent. But apparently he was going back on his word. Like, he was sitting there for a while talking shit about people who smoke, drink, and did drugs. And I'm like, well, bro, you're kind of the pot calling the kettle black now because you're doing it. And I just sat there next to him, and I'm like, thinking, and I'm just, like, really quiet, which, if you know me, you know I ain't a quiet motherfucker. I'm a noisy bitch. But I was silent. And I remember I sat up, I said, I'm going to my house. And he was like, what's wrong? And I was like, bro, I can't, dude. This isn't working out. He's like, dude, what the fuck? And then I just walked away. I felt like I had just broke up with a chick, too. Because, believe it or not, man, Sean was my homie. I fucking love that dude to death. And, like, that was also a particular time where I wasn't really making friends. Like, I didn't really have anybody in my life, I mean, obviously, that would change as time would go on. And now I have too many of you fucks. I'm kidding. I love you guys. But no, really, like, this was a different time in my life, though. Like, this was before fucking the Rainmaker was who he is now. Like, this was before, like, I started getting all popular and shit, and people wanted to hang out with me. This was before all that. This was when I was a fucking loner. And when I had one friend, that was my best friend. And I didn't have anybody, because, like, Joey at this time, like, so this is circa 2004, he wasn't really my homie anymore. He and I were starting to steer away from each other in directions. Obviously, I was just now becoming straight edge, and he had been drinking and doing pot and shit. And by the way, if you were a pothead during this time of my life, you were the biggest pile of shit, in my opinion. Because I saw people who did any kind of drugs as a piece of shit. Not so much now. Like, if you smoke pot or whatever, I don't give a fuck. I mean, I'm not going to do it, but if you do it, it's not my place to judge. I don't even think it's wrong. Like, I don't think it's bad. Weed, like, if you're going to do any drugs, smoke some weed. Don't do fucking pills. Don't drink. I don't. And if you drink, just drink responsibly. I fucking hate cigarettes. I can't justify cigarettes. How the fuck, sorry. No, I'm not sorry. Fuck you. Cigarettes are disgusting. They're fucking bad. Like, they don't do shit for you. Like, fuck off. Fucking, ugh. But anyway, so I lost Sean as a friend over it. And obviously, smoking and being an asshole was going to be his thing. And I didn't want any affiliation with him. So, other than the fact that he and I went to school together, I wanted no part of him. And then, when we were back in school again together, like, sometime later, he's fucking making fun of me in front of our classmate Justin. He's like, "Oh, did you hear what this motherfucker said when we were hanging out? He was like, singing me some fucking sad story, like, oh, just imagine if you and your son, blah, blah," or just whatever. And I just ignored him, and I was like, dude, fuck you. Go fuck die, you piece of shit. Obviously, to this day, Sean and I are actually good friends now. We actually just rekindled our friendship, like, a couple years ago, and we're back on the homie track shit, and I ended up becoming his roommate for a little bit. And we hung out not that long ago. So, and plus, he hooked me up with a ride to the DMV to go get my driver's permit. So, Sean, if you're ever listening to this, I don't hold any animosity towards you. I did. But anyways, so I wasn't officially straight edge because a lot of people associate straight edge with no drugs, no drinking, no tobacco, which is true. But it's also a subgenre of music. It's like people who listen to like punk music or metal or hardcore. Like, that is, in a sense, like the straight edge lifestyle. It's more than just, oh, I don't smoke, drink, and do drugs, but it's also, I don't, or I listen to this kind of music. Like Throwdown and Teen Idols and Gorilla Biscuits and Minor Threat and 18 Visions and H2O and, bands like them and shit. So, now, again, I want to say this is 2004 is when I became, like, drug-free and alcohol-free and all that. And it would be another 2 years until I discovered what straight edge actually was. And that was in the form of CM Punk, the pro wrestler. I remember when ECW came to TV and CM Punk was like, "I'm a straight edge superstar. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. My only addiction is competition." And I'm just like, bro, this guy is over like Rover. And then I did some investigation and I found out what straight edge was. And I already, the year before, like, my family had just gotten the computer, so I was starting to discover more music than what fucking the radio was playing. Because if you wanted to be a metalhead during that time, you couldn't just listen to the fucking radio. Because what did you have? Like, yeah, occasionally back then they would play, like, some Disturbed and Korn and Slipknot. And those are all good bands. But then they didn't play anything that wasn't radio popular. Like, like Dimmu Borgir and Lamb of God and As I Lay Dying, Children of Bodom, Mushroom Head and shit. Like, a lot of that wasn't played on the radio for a while. And at least that's not how I discovered them. So I was already starting to get into hardcore music too, like, Bury Your Dead and Hatebreed and Throwdown before I knew they were straight edge. So when I found out that straight edge essentially was, being hardcore and listening to punk and all that, I was like, fuck yeah. So I officially became straight edge the day that I saw CM Punk on TV. And that was, if you give me a second, guys. CM Punk ECW debut. So, August 2006 is when I became official straight edge. And then sometime in 2004 is when it, was deep rooted, But yeah, so I talk about that a lot in the story, me being straight edge and stuff, and how it's affected me. So also, I wanna crush something right now. So my brother, again, the guy I was talking about at the beginning of the story, yesterday, Christmas morning, I was on a video chat with all my siblings, and I noticed my brother Logan was hitting a vape, and then my older brother Joey was calling him a dumbass for vaping, and I'm like, bro, this ain't coming from the motherfucker who used to smoke cigarettes, right? Yeah, I don't want to hear your bullshit. And then also, I was like, then I said something about how I was like the only person in my family that was never on drugs or got high and shit. And Joey's like, bullshit. You fucking used to take NyQuil all the time in the middle of the afternoon just to get buzzed. And I'm like, alright, motherfucker. My brother, I love you, Joey. Again, you're probably not even listening to this. You probably have already thrown the phone across the universe and you're like, you're fat. I mean, clearly I'm not fat at all, so let me just call you fat, even though you've been battling fucking food addiction for years, and I've never fucking conquered the battle ever. I never even battled. Food addiction has just always been my thing, but let me call you fat. God damn. I love you, bub. Love you. If you want to block me on Facebook, too late, bitch. I don't even have Facebook. Faggot. Anyways, so Joey would tell people that I used to do NyQuil at like 3 in the afternoon. No, I was doing it at nighttime to fall asleep. And when the bottle was gone, I didn't buy any more. Years later, when the sleep schedule got fucked up, I'd go buy some NyQuil. Because NyQuil is a fucking powerful sleep aid. By the way, this sleep aid shit that I bought recently was weak as fuck. Dude, I woke up like just a few hours into my sleep. So, if I want to get my sleep schedule on deck, then I guess I could probably buy some NyQuil again. But anyways, guys, I am SXE till I DIE. I'll see you guys later. Love, peace, and chicken grease. And remember, don't be silly. Strap your willy.